rAVe Radio. With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves with Gary.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to our latest episode of Rants and Raves. I'm Steph Beckett, your sometimes host of this podcast and videocast series. And joining me as my guest today is Bose Professional's Justin O'Connor. Justin, welcome to our show.
Thanks, Steph. Really excited to be here, and I'm looking forward to our little chat.
Yeah, me too. So we're kind of talking about a lot of things here, but basically like Bose Professional, we're kind of keeping it in this theme of experience and audio as experience. But also we're kind of looking at this through the lens of Bose Professional, a company that's kind of like gone through some changes in the last couple of years. Do you want to start by kind of talking about that?
Sure, yeah, and we have been through a lot of changes, and everybody has been fairly aware of that. And all change gives you opportunity. All change brings challenges, and what we're excited about is the opportunities. We're a smaller organization now that we're on our own. We're independent, and everybody who works at the company is completely focused from top to bottom on rAVe, and that is now everybody's focus. We certainly, most of us who are part of Bose Professional through all this, that was our focus, but to have the entire organization dedicated to that, it's going to be better for our customers in the long run. It's going to allow us to serve them better. But independence also means we are purely making our own decisions. And that means we can move a little faster, we can respond faster, we can listen to our customers at a deeper level and bring our legacy of innovation to customer needs. And as you said, experiences. I think that's something we'll talk about a bit today, because that's always been the core concept even before the transition. But now we can see the purity of that, where listening to our customers, truly engaging in what they need is important. But what we're really here for is the experience. Right?
Absolutely.
We don't put audio in a space just because we like speakers. Some of us do, but eventually it's about an experience. So
Yeah.
our customers are selling an experience one way or another. And if we're not thinking about the experience, then we can't provide tools that enhance that.
No, absolutely. And with the rAVe like industry in particular, like experience is what we're providing at the end of the day. Like that is so important to this industry. So it makes a lot of sense that now Bose Professional is a company that is like by rAVe for rAVe.
Yeah, and that's what we're talking about, is being really focused on experience, because you can have a room with audio, you can have a room with good audio, and all three of those are remarkably different experiences. And ultimately, these folks want people coming back to whatever it is the space is for. They want repeat business.
Absolutely. So kind of shifting to product a little bit. Bose Professional has launched 20 products in the past couple of years. Like, okay, y'all are crazy for that. First of all, how did that happen so quickly? Like, what role did integrator and customer feedback kind of play in shaping that?
Oh, feedback is everything. You can't change the game without listening. And customer feedback has led us to make some very interesting innovations. EdgeMax is one of the most innovative products. We make traditional ceiling speakers, and they're very good at a lot of things, but EdgeMax really changed the game. But we didn't rest there. We heard over and over, can we get a low profile version? Can we get something smaller? Can we get something that doesn't necessarily need as much low end, but still has that benefit of being able to shoot horizontally? So that's just one example where we directly listened right out of the gate with a brand new product and went right into development to answer that feedback. And so that's just one example of the way we directly interface with our customers, telling us what they see, what they need, and then trying to solve those problems directly.
Yeah, walk me through a little bit about how field testing also kind of informs these decisions.
Sure, we do. I mean, we do all sorts of testing from the design level all the way out to release. And we have our own experience center, which is where we're also really excited about in our new transition. That is also a testing ground because, in addition to showing our customers, hey, this is what your product would, this is what our product sounds like in spaces like the ones you design in, we have that in our experience center. So they're hearing it really close to being in situ, but that's also a testing ground for us.
Yeah.
And then, of course, we try to get as many samples and prototypes into people's hands and listen to what they have to say to us before we release a product. So that if there's something we need to adjust, if there's something we can tweak to get it just right, we want to take that opportunity. It's really important to us.
Absolutely. So we have that perfect example of your own experience center where people can go and like test and hear these firsthand, but also like Bose Professionals products, they are in so many places out in the real world as well. Like the Gold's Gym is a really good example. That's like probably one of my favorite installs of y'all's that I got to like study and write a little bit about in my article, which of course we'll link so that everybody can check that out. But how does that real world experience of both professionals products being there kind of like loop back into product design and like especially in like installs like Gold's Gym where like things needed to be edited because like you couldn't get the speaker exactly right because like in placement because of how the gym was built and it's a historical building, like things like that.
Yeah, that's a really, you're right. That's a really fun use case, not just for what it turned out to be, but how we got there. I like to say that we can decide as developers, we can decide what our products are intended for, and that is our job. But there's always things we're not going to think of, and that's where our customers help us think about things differently. They're always going to come up with ideas for how to use a product that you didn't even think of.
Yeah.
So Edge Max, the word edge is in the name, and they're designed to be put around the edge of a room and send sound horizontally while disappearing into the ceiling. Makes sense. But so Gold's Gym needed that for a lot of their space because, as you said, it's a historical space and they use their walls almost like a museum. So surface mounts just really would clutter that up and take away from that. So they put speakers around the edge. But as you said, that didn't fit the whole room. So there was a brilliant idea to hang Edge Max like a pendant. So even though it was in the center of the room, it was still shooting horizontally. So they could actually create listening zones by pointing it in the right direction. So they weren't flooding the room with sound either and overdoing it. So it was really interesting to see how they took the intention of Edge Max and used that to enhance their space. But then they went the next step. The integrator and the client and with our support took next step and did something entirely different with Edge Max. And the result is it's a tremendous experience for visitors or gym members alike.
No, I loved that one. And kind of like leaning into design philosophy a little bit. Like I know Bose Professional has always been about like creating this great sound that blends into the environment, which is clear across all of the case studies that we've posted on our site. So how do you and the team interpret like the heard not seen philosophy in today's installs?
Sure. And, we talk about our independence right now, but there's a certain amount of legacy that we benefited from. And
Yeah,
before recent Bose Professional, Bose has always been about miniaturizing sound, making
yeah,
sound disappear, getting more out of a smaller thing than we thought we normally could. And so that has stayed with us to begin with. But we also know, for years I've talked to integrators, and if you really boiled it down, the ideal speaker has infinite output and negligible mass.
yeah,
It needs to disappear. It needs to be not visible. It needs to not distract. There's some installs, some venues where seeing the speaker is part of the experience and you want
yeah,
that. But most of the time, they want it to hide. And so you can hide it literally like Edge Max, get it in the ceiling, but it's still shooting horizontal, or you can make it smaller or more sleek or more thoughtfully designed. So we can't always shrink it down. Where we can, we get the most out of small size. Even our Forum series, which you wouldn't think of as small because it's a wood box coaxial, it's much smaller than similar boxes and can punch out so much output for something small. So sometimes we're just literally trying to get as much out, sometimes working on making it architecturally more sleek, more acceptable, and sometimes we're just trying to hide as much as possible. But that's something we've had for a long time, and we're just continuing to enhance because more and more the spaces are getting to be more and more elegant, more and more sleek on their own. Pro AV is upscaling everywhere in terms of
Yep.
aesthetics. And so we want to be part of that because that's what the customers need.
And like with that upgrade on aesthetics, I think like a lot of the one of the buzzwords right now is like immersive, like immersing people into this experience, into this space. But that looks a lot of different ways depending on the environment. So like because we have Bose Professional in restaurants, we have Bose Professional in stadiums. So what does immersive mean when you're like designing for these completely different environments like that?
It can mean different things, and I think that's what you alluded to. It's a bit of a buzz term. So, like capital I immersive makes us think of like, virtual experiences and a system that tracks us individually. And those things are happening and they're cutting edge and they're really interesting. But there is an immersion experience that every venue has. And it's the seamlessness. So it's not just the audio system, it's the whole experience of you don't want to see the gaps. It's kind of like you don't want to see backstage. You want to have what's presented to you. And so speakers that stick out too much, or speakers that don't cover the right spots. And so you have hot spots and dead spots, or, your display, your lighting, all of it.
Mhm.
If the customer experience is about noticing it, then you're not immersing them in what that space is really for. So that's the immersion that I think is really not a buzzword and is really critical to a good experience in a good space. And so our role in that is it's architectural, as we said, being able to blend, disappear, whatever that is, but it's also being a good part of the ecosystem, a good player, and having our own ecosystem as well, so that you have this experience that takes all the edges out, so to speak,
Yeah.
and the customer. The patron, the guest, whoever it is, whatever the space is, they're not thinking about the AV system. They're just taking in the experience that is being presented to them.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So, in all of these vastly different projects that, we have talked about and that we've posted on rAVe, like we've got the Stadium of Light, we have a restaurant, we of course have Gold's Gym, we have this beautiful Lake Como hotel. What lessons have you or the team learned through these projects that you think might shape Bose Professional's roadmap going forward?
Yeah, we've learned some practical lessons. We've learned some philosophical lessons. I think overall, it kind of goes back again to that theme of what what are your customers doing with your product.
Yeah.
And so the more we engage and the more we're part of them helping them get this, their systems figured out and configured, the more we get to learn from them as well. The Sunderland Stadium is interesting because there are, even though it looks like just a rectangle in a way, there are some
Yeah.
tricky corners and there's some weird spots. And so the design team being able to swap out the horizontal coverage on Arena Match, that was really crucial to getting, again, the difference between a good system and a seamless system, literally in this case, so that the coverage was seamless. And so things like that tell us that in some spaces, we need to have options. We need to have ways for the customer to tailor what the audio system is doing in a physical manner, not just digital signal processing and those things. And so we have that in mind, and that's something that was reinforced for us. And so that's something we'll probably be carrying forward. And how can we make it easier and easier and easier down the field? So that's one example. This isn't one of the case studies, but we used to have this pendant system with little speakers, little cubes around the side, and we got out of that business. But temporarily, but our customers, the field was like, hey, that is a really key tool that we used to rely on you for. And so that was a literal opportunity to listen to a customer say, hey, we really like that tool. Can you do that? And we did, and we actually well exceeded it with the Zymax Luna, which we're excited about. That's coming out soon. But it kind of speaks to the idea that solving problems is where innovation really comes from.
Yeah.
And so as we interact with our customers, we learn things in all of these installs that we can carry to the next product development, the next big thing. And these case studies were presented some really interesting challenges and solutions.
Absolutely. So, kind of a last question for you, like looking forward, of what you can tell me, a person who is a member of the media, like what's next for Bose Professional, and like how do you see the definition of like providing an experience with audio, like even evolving in the next couple of years?
Yeah, we could talk about what's immediately next because we can talk about that. On November 6th, we'll have our Design Max Luna, our new all-in-one pendant system that is going to start shipping. It's going to be available around the world, and our website will go live on November 6th with that. We showed it at InfoComm. Tremendous response to that product, and that product speaks to the meeting of the past and the future. As I mentioned, it was a type of product category we used to be a big part of, and we had the chance to go back to it, and we could have just made kind of the same thing but more modern, but we didn't. We started from the ground up with the need, the solution, and we innovated a proprietary ring array as just one example of the technology that's in Design Max Luna. So that's one thing you can expect to continue to see from Bose Professional is our legacy and new innovation meeting. The other thing you're going to see is, again, without now talking about too many specifics, is a tighter and deeper integration within our own systems, and a deeper response to the fact that, again, it's not just loudspeakers
Yeah.
sending audio. There are things we need to think about. How do the customers interface with the system? How does the system take care of itself? Things like this that really answer the word system. That's a buzzword too, but we really are embracing that from a product standpoint. And going forward, we want to be a true system brand.
Yeah. Last question for you. Where can people find more information on Bose Professional?
Yeah, I mean, our website, boseprofessional.com, is the place for the most information. And if you don't get there, try to get there by November 6th so you can see Design Max Luna make its premiere to the public. That would be the best place to get more info. And of course, we have numerous case studies, which you all have helped publish. And so that's another source for a lot of this specific information.
Yes, absolutely. I actually wrote a piece that rounds up all of the case studies we mentioned today. So if you are interested in checking out any of those, go to ravepubs.com. We will also include a link to that in the description. Justin, thank you so much for your time. It's been a real pleasure.
Yeah, thanks so much, Steph. I really enjoyed it.
All right. This has been another episode of Rants and Raves, everybody. Thank you so much for listening and watching. I'm Steph Beckett, and we'll see you next time. Bye.
rAVe Radio. With rants and raves, you'll be okay. And today is your lucky day. It is rants and raves.